Hey, hey, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. There is no specific episode this week. This is our last one of the year, and it's a bit of a special one because it's not just Adam and I talking crap for just over an hour. We've got the whole team together. The whole band is together for the first time on a podcast. Actually, the first time ever for anything. Podcast, live meetup, anything like that. So we're all good. So we're going to round the year off with a bit of a round table. We're going to talk about Series 13, the FLUX. In general, we're going to go through some stuff that we like, some stuff we didn't quite like, and just give you our overall impressions. And then we're going to finish up with a wee bit of what we're looking forward to for the festive special and the two specials that are coming up next year. So I'm Gary, as always, and joining me for the round table is Jordan Shortman.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Maria, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks, Gary. I'm okay.
Good stuff. Matt, Mr. Matt Steele. Mr. Matt Steele. He says hello from beyond Skype. Harry, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Gary. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, buddy. Thank you very much. Mr. Mark, how you doing, dude?
Not too bad, thank you.
All things considered.
Nice to be here, as always. Yes, all things considered, indeed, yes.
Good. And our usual co-host, the other half of the Big Blue Box podcast, the guy that's not 100% happy today, but we think he's bearing up. He's all right. How you doing, dude? It's Adam.
I'm good, mate. Yes, I've got all the F-bombs out of my system.
Yes.
So it should be a family-rated podcast from now on.
We hope so. I don't have to put that explicit badge.
Don't want to have to mute me.
No. So we have got a couple of technical gremlins, dear listener, just to warn you up front. Most of us are cool. We're all good. But as usual, Skype's not playing ball. So if one of us drops out or if all of us drop out, then yeah, we will just work around that, as always. It's a bit like the TARDIS playing up. Every now and then you have to whack it with a hammer or do something, but we'll work around it, I'm sure. So the first thing I want to get into in regards to Series 13 is the concept of the series itself. So in previous, and I don't mean concept as in the storyline or the synopsis, but the approach that the Chibinator took with this particular series. So previous to this, it had followed the same format as all the previous series of Doctor Who. This one, he changed it up a bit. He did a series-wide arc over 6 episodes, and it was a bit of a Broadchurchy thing, right? So how do we feel that went in relation to applying that to Doctor Who and having that, watching this as I imagine, watching this as a bit of a binge watch, possibly over 6 episodes after it had gone out weekly. So let's go over to ladies first. Maria, what do you reckon to this as an arc then?
I think initially I was very kind of nervous about how one story would fit in within 6 episodes, but I've actually been pleasantly surprised. I mean, as a concept, I think the idea is a really good one. I think, obviously, you know, there's been a few issues with the amount of content that's gone into it. But as a concept, I think it's been a really good one. I think one of the most exciting things is it's brought back cliffhangers for me, which I've kind of really missed. And it reminds me of kind of watching the classic series. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed it as a concept. I think it's been exciting week on week to kind of see what was going to happen next. So I've really enjoyed the journey. Maybe not the destination, but I've really enjoyed the journey.
Good answer. What a good one to kick us up with. Harry, what do you reckon?
Well, I think there's a difference between sort of ideas and execution. I think as an idea, it's a really nice one because, you know, resources were limited as a result of COVID and they had to kind of change their plans a lot. And I think this is the best thing they could have done. I think, you know, I commend them for being ambitious despite all of the obstacles they had in their way. And it was, you know, nice that the idea of going back to a serialized format. Having said that, I think it started off promising, but then it kind of fell really flat for me. I feel like with these sort of grand epics, you know, we've had the likes of like Game of Thrones and like the Marvel Infinity Saga in recent years in like pop culture. I feel like there's always a lot of promise, and then it's never as good as like it's set up to be, and then it always just ends up to some extent fallen a bit flat. And that's what I felt like Flux was. I felt like it started off really, really promising, and I was really excited, more excited than I've ever been this whole era. And then it just kind of fell as flat as a pancake for me, which is a strange analogy, but there you go.
Oh dear. Started off strong, then pancaked at the end. I read you.
Indeed.
Mark?
I'm, to be honest, amazed it took Doctor Who this long to kind of go back to a serialized format. I mean, that's what it was, for 26 years. And obviously, I think when it came back in 2005, it had to do that kind of single 45-minute stories, occasional two-parters to fit in with the television landscape at the time. But you look at TV now, Line of Duty, it's one story over 6 hours. Everything is one story with the arse dragged out over a long period of time. I think what I enjoyed about Flux was it kind of had its cake and ate it. It was kind of a 6-part story, but it also had some very enjoyable, individual Doctor Who stories within it as well. War of the Sontarans, Village of the Angels, stuff like that, which had this kind of narrative through line. So, it's kind of Dalek master plan for the Netflix generation. It's great. As a concept, I think it's brilliant.
Okay, cool. Matt, if we can hear you, let us know. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And in the middle.
That was kind of on the fence.
On the fence for Matt.
Yeah.
Jordan, what do you think?
I think I agree. It sort of at the end, it was started off. It was brilliant, and then it curved, and then very quickly went downhill. But I think Mark's right. I think a lot of TV nowadays, all of TV these days, is serialized. Pretty much everything you watch these days is serialized. So I think it was quite good to see Doctor Who kind of step into that now. I'm surprised it's taken them. I mean, Doctor Who's now been around for 15, 16 years since it came back. And I think the sort of the Monster of the Week episode was how TV was done back then. You look at things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the X-Files and stuff like that. It was always a Monster of the Week. Whereas now, I mean, even things on Netflix like Dynasty or Riverdale or something like that, it's one story told over God knows how many episodes. And I think it has proven that works for Doctor Who. I'm not sure Chibnall had the ability to pull it off in the end, but I think it worked. It's proven that if Davies wants to do it next year, that it can work for Doctor
Who. Okay. You guys are on fire with the answers tonight. I expected this to be how did you think it went?
It's like Dissaran.
Mm-hmm. How do you think it went? Yeah, it's fine. Cool. Moving on. But no, this is very good. Actually, yeah, Jordan's got a bit of a... Is he drunk? No, he's all right. Right, Adam.
It's been a very long day at work.
He's taken over from me, yeah. I was going to say, normally I would have an alcoholic beverage, but tonight I'm going cold. I'm on the water, so Jordan's obviously filling in for me tonight.
Our listener knows our thoughts on Flux, obviously, but do you just want to give a recap, dude, on your overall thoughts on the concept of a one big story over 6 parts?
Yeah, I think we were both quite excited, weren't we, when we heard that Chibbers was doing that. We felt like that would suit his writing style a lot better. And I think in some ways it did. So I applaud him for his ambition. But the problem is he kind of made a rod for his own back, really, didn't he? And it kind of collapsed under its own weight. So I like the concept of it. And I think there were some great things thrown in and, some nice ideas and everything. But yeah, like I think a lot of us feel in this chat tonight, they didn't all really come together. And the problem is when you advertise something as the biggest adventure yet, which we've had a few times now, it's got to live up to it. And I think by the time you got to the end of it, it didn't. So yeah, I think it was heading in the right direction. I just think it came apart pretty much halfway through, really. And then we had a good Angel episode, which tided us over, and we thought, oh, maybe we're back on track. But then by the time we got to the final, I think the general consensus was it it was disappointing. And then that's the problem when you're doing a story arc. You know, that ending has got to be satisfying in some degree. Otherwise, it makes the rest of the series a little bit, it taints the rest of the series, basically. So, but I applaud the ambition behind it, and I like the idea. I just think it buckled under its own weight, unfortunately.
Pancaked, as Harry said.
Pancaked.
Flat
Yeah.
as a pancake. Before we move on.
Pancake with no sugar in it.
With no, oh.
It gets worse.
Not good. Not good.
Indeed.
Before we move on, Matt, have you resolved anything your end to give us your point of view, or is it still sign language?
Oh no,
so. You are. We can hear you.
Yes.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, right. I'm not going to touch a single thing, and hopefully we'll be okay.
Don't move. Don't blink and don't move.
That episode of Mr. Bean where he gets the TV aerial just in the right place.
Yeah.
Matthew, what did you think of the Flux?
Well, leading up to the Flux, I must admit I wasn't overly enthusiastic. I don't know why, but I haven't felt that way for a long time now. The way you used to feel when you're coming up to a series and it's all kicking off and you get that anticipation building. But I was pleasantly surprised. After the first episode, leaving on the cliffhanger, I was glued to the screen, almost falling off my chair. And I loved it all the way up until episode 5. That's when things take a bit of a downturn for me. I don't know what happened. Episode 6 is just a bit of a mess for me, and I don't know really how to say it, but it just didn't deliver on hardly anything that was building the entire series.
Right.
In terms of it being an event series, I thought it worked really well for Doctor Who. I think nearly every series these days, like Jordan was saying, sticks to one story arc throughout the series, and it does work if you can back it up with following through with your ideas, which I just don't think happened completely.
Yes, true. Yeah. So the Flux Chapter 6, the unsugared pancake, is what we're kind of in agreement with there. Although I do want to play devil's advocate, though, because there are a few shows where not having the, a very consistent story arc over a series still does work. If anyone's ever watched The X-Files, you will know that that does very well. So that has a mixture of, well, the first half of The X-Files.
I was going to say, I was like, for the first 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. So that has a very good mix of having these lore/arc stories that run through the series, but they also intersect that with sort of Creature of the Week episodes where they're mostly isolated and it's not part of the main story. And that worked you're right, Mark. The first 5 or 6 seasons of that was very good. So it can work, but yeah, I agree. The more modern way of storytelling these days, where you do have a single arc, I guess, over a single series, it's and I think that's more the streaming, as a result of streaming, because a lot of streaming made services where you have Netflix making their own shows and Amazon making their own shows, they'll just dump the lot in one go. And so it makes sense to watch that as one long things like Cobra Kai and, those sorts of things. So I agree. It's it can work. It's just that I'm not sure the Chibbers just knows how to write sci-fi, if I'm being brutally honest. I think he's very good at writing the more down-to-earth, gritty, crimey, everyday kind of dramas. I think he's very good at that. But where it concerns, which is really surprising to me, because a lot like Russell, he claims to be a lifelong Doctor Who fan and claims to know it inside out and has good ideas. But there we go. It's down to you guys to debate this stuff. So opening up to the floor then, let's talk about some things that were good about Series 13, whether it's the a particular episode that you liked, or Jodie's performance, or Swarm and Azure, anything you like. Somebody kick us off. What are some good things about Flux, because I feel like we shouldn't bash it, because Adam and I have done enough of that over the last 6 weeks. So
I was going to say, where do you want me to start? Because I really liked Flux. I think I'm the only person here that did. I think it's Jodie Whittaker's hands down her best performance as the Doctor.
Agreed. Yep.
Through all 6 episodes, she's so comfortable in that role now, and she feels very much like her own Doctor. There was a lot of people, which I totally disagree with, but there was a lot of people going, "Oh, she's just like a female David Tennant, blah 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 blah." But here, I think she's a much more interesting portrayal of the Doctor, and she absolutely nails the humor in a way that I don't think we've really seen since maybe Matt Smith, and even then Matt could push it a bit too far into kind of cringeworthy. Whereas I think just little subtle things like in The Vanquishers, where she tricks the Sontarans and she licks her lips, just little subtle gags like that is just so enjoyable to watch. So I think she's great. She balances the comedy with the drama of it so well. And I'm going to be really sorry to see her go, actually, to be honest. We've only got kind of 3 hours left, and I kind of feel like I want at least another year, with the 13th Doctor. So that's my opening salvo, I guess, on positives.
I do agree with you there, actually, Mark. I think this is her best series, and I think because she was so good on this one, I do kind of want her to have another series. It's just a shame that this is her last full go at it, and this was the only one where I thought she was actually. I always thought she was good. But I thought this was the one where she actually finally became the Doctor.
She needed a long run-up.
Yeah. But then I don't know how much of that is down to Chibnall's writing.
Well, I was going to say also, isn't that just because I always take against this kind of sort of post-2005 idea of what the Doctor is. Because like in the classic series, the Doctor was never this like... they make a joke about it in Twice Upon a Time. He was never this like braggadocio hero that would just like swagger into places and just give big long speeches and all that kind of thing. They would just, mess stuff up, save the day, move on to the next place. And I really think I've been rewatching the Jodie Whittaker era for my own podcast, and I really feel she gets that and she really nails that. And I think what a lot of people, when they kind of criticize her and they criticize Chris Chibnall, is that they're expecting these sort of big universe-ending stakes and her to make these like sort of big, difficult decisions and all this kind of thing. And obviously you get that in Flux. That's basically what it's like. Chris Chibnall's going, "You want that, do you? Here you go. All right, just have it. If you like, and I think that's kind of what he's done. And I think the payoff's been great. I think because you've had one series which is very kind of slower paced, kind of doing interesting things, bringing back the historical element of Doctor Who. Then you had a kind of something that was a bit more kind of a Russell T Davies, Stephen Moffat tribute act. And then you have this kind of big, epic sort of a serial. So maybe she feels more like the Doctor to people because she's within that kind of sphere.
Interesting. So there's a couple of people, actually, yes, a couple of people. I think, Matt, you were not too, if I remember correctly, you weren't as against, should I say, Jodie Whittaker being the Doctor and stuff. I think you don't mind Jodie, is that right? No. You're on mute, dude. Unmute Skype. It's Skype.
Let's go back to thumbs up, thumbs down.
Hold on. Can I unmute you? This is amazing. Can I unmute you? This is like that scene where Dan is having a video call.
And I haven't seen him move. I don't know how he's managed to mute himself.
Speak.
Go. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, we go.
Okay. It keeps freezing for some reason. I'm not entirely sure. I've pressed that unmute button about 50 million times. However, we're back. So, yeah, no, I really enjoyed... I have really enjoyed Jodie's run. It took a while for me to accept her as the Doctor for me. Series 11 was a little bit rocky. I think that's pretty much standard thoughts across the board. But Series 12 onwards, I thought she was great, and she's kept getting stronger. Flux, I thought her acting was, brilliant. I thought she was firing on all cylinders, especially when it comes to the darker moments. I wish that we see more of that, but that is much more down to the writing, I think, than actually her decision in the role. So yeah, for me, Jodie has been a great Doctor when given the writing to back her up, and the direction. And I will be sad to see her go, I think.
Okay. I'm going to circle around Harry in a second, but I know that there are two people that are not happy chappies, happy bunnies with Jodie. So, Maria, based on your reviews thus far of Flux and so on, happy with Jodie's performance throughout Flux?
I have actually enjoyed it probably more than any other series, and I don't know if it's because Chris Chibnall's writing has come up a notch, whether he's in a comfortable place where he's able to write her in a more flowing kind of way, obviously because it's one long story, or whether it's because she's had an ensemble around her that's not her companions, because I think she's actually worked better when she's worked against the guest actors in the series rather than with her companions. I don't know if I like the companion relationship that she has with her companions. I think I prefer it when she's with the other actors, because you can see it with is it Kevin McAnally and the actress who plays Claire. They kind of bounce off each other so much, and I some of the standalone stories that she's had as well, the Sontaran one and the Weeping Angels ones, I think she's been really strong. She's been on her own maybe without her companions, and the writing has played to that, I think, and it's made her, she seems to come across a lot better. And I don't know whether they've kind of just cut out some of the sillier stuff that they've had in previous series as well, which I have enjoyed her this series. I think she's been a lot better. She feels more like the Doctor that I would expect her to be, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Adam.
Yeah, I'm sort of biting my lip a bit because I don't. Yeah, I think this has been her strongest season in terms of her performance and to an extent the way she's been written. But the thing is with Jodie is every time I start to warm to her, she then goes off on this sort of zany sort of side of her Doctor, which a lot of people enjoy. I mean, this is the thing about Doctor Who. Every time we get a new Doctor, certain aspects of their character will appeal more to some people than others. It's just the way it is. Some people like Colin's tetchiness, other people find him too abrasive. So, for example, when Jodie did the snap scene, people find that hilarious. I can't stand it. I just I hate that scene. So I don't mind Jodie, but I don't think her performance is particularly good, and I don't really understand when, sorry to say, like people say she nailed it. Sorry, Matt. I just don't think she does. She doesn't hit the right level of performance for me personally. But that's not to say I don't like her. I just don't love her, if you know what I mean. As I said, every time I think, oh, she's good. Like, I liked her in episode 1. I really liked her in the Sontaran one, actually. For me, that was her better performance. Maria, you were just saying you thought she was good in the Angel one. I liked the Angel episode, but she really annoyed me in it. She was way too zany and bouncing off the walls. But if you look at the Sontaran one, like you said, she's good when she's bouncing off another cast member that's not a regular. And I really thought that was probably her better episode for me personally. But it's weird because, when she has that dark coat on, even in those small scenes where she's playing the darker Doctor, I really want to see more of that. But that's what I mean about personal taste. That's just how I want the Doctor to be. So I don't really think it's her. I just think her personality as the Doctor doesn't appeal to me personally. So maybe not so much her performance. Her Doctor just doesn't appeal to what I like. Probably what you were saying, Mark. It's just not what I see as the Doctor.
So it's interesting because you're saying that the Darker Doctor. I'm bored rigid by the Darker Doctor. Do you know what I mean? Like we've had it for so many years.
But
now,
not so much
like,
the Darker
and
Doctor,
Time
Mark.
Lord
It's just the fact that
Victorious
she's
and all that
so
stuff. It's
over the
just
top
like,
with the gurning faces and the silliness. I can't stand it. And I don't mean like I want them to be like a pouty grumpy all the time, but she's just so over the top in her performance. I can't get on board with her. I can't. She doesn't command a room for me. She reminds me of a supply teacher that nobody takes any notice of. When she comes in and starts laying down the law, even the Sontarans and that just laugh at her. She just doesn't have any command of the screen for me personally. Anyway, I'm not saying I want her to be a Dark Doctor. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't find her particularly engaging as the Doctor.
Mm. It's a bit like, I think the most common description of Jodie's Doctor that I've certainly heard from us in our team and also just other podcasts and blogs and whatnot is it's a bit like when you don't want to have an argument with your other half. It's always that thing where it gets a little bit, you're not fighting yet, but it gets a little bit towards that bit. And it's always that one saying, isn't it? It's like, I'm not starting, I'm just saying. And that's what it's like with Jodie. It's like, I'm not saying I don't like her, but I'm just not fussed when she goes. That's probably the most common thing. I know you don't feel 100% like that, Mark, but that's just, that's the kind of, the thing. It's like, I'm not saying I want her to be, like Time Lord Victorious kind of dark. I'm not saying, I think, it's not like we absolutely need her to be one pigeonholed type of Doctor, but I do agree with you, Adam, in that. I know this is probably the way she's been written for. I think is part of the problem as well, is that she does try to come across a little bit like, when you watch, not now, obviously, some of you might, I don't know, but years ago when you watched programs that were on for kids, like CBBC Saturday morning or whatever. And you see kids' TV presenters who act completely nuts and weird. And you think, wow, it takes a lot to be a kids' TV presenter because you have to act like an idiot for an hour. That's what it's like for me watching Jodie at various points. It's like she has a serious bit, she has a cool bit, she's not too bad. But then she does this weird kind of like kids' presenter thing where she's, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it exactly, but I kind of know where you're coming from, Adam. But it's weird.
Do you think, Gary, just what you're saying, Gary, do you think it's the way that she kind of moves? Because I find sometimes the way Jodie moves is quite strange, and I think it's a little bit off-putting. I think physically the way she moves, the way she kind of, she kind of slouches a little bit, doesn't she, when she's kind of the Doctor, and then she moves really quickly. And I find that a bit distracting, actually.
I'm just thinking of the Peter Cushing
David
Doctor.
Tennant. I mean, I don't understand why Jodie Whittaker's not allowed to do that, but David Tennant gets away with blue murder. But that's just...
Do you mean in his performance? In general, Mark, or specific?
Yeah, just in the 10th Doctor. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like David Tennant, but I think a lot of the criticisms that are levelled at Jodie Whittaker could be easily levelled, and one with a bit more kind of strength behind them, to sort of Peter Davison or David Tennant or doctors like that. And I just wonder what it is about Whittaker that rubs people up the wrong way. But that's a whole separate podcast, I think.
Yeah. We tried really hard, actually, for the last 6 weeks when we were recording. We actually said on a couple of episodes that we've got to really try not to compare Jodie to previous Doctors, because that could lead down the rabbit hole of, but so-and-so Doctor didn't do that, and she doesn't do it like that Doctor, and all that stuff. So we really did try to. There was only a couple of scenes and a couple of bits where we said, at this particular point in the episode, if you remember this episode where it was, a similar kind of scene and similar stakes, then... sorry, Mark, David Tennant, there was this scene where he did go absolutely bonkers and completely just stole the hearts of everybody for that 1 minute. And it was such a great performance. And you were thinking, why didn't she just push herself more to give that kind of delivery, in that kind of thing? But it's apples and oranges in a way, because that's just how she decided. That was her decision as an actress to deliver that line and that scene. So like I said, it's difficult to to stop yourself from comparing to other doctors. It's a bit rubbish like that. But
and that's what I meant when I said about her in the dark coat, you see, because she was more like when she's saying blow the doors off. I'm like, yes. So I could see a side of her doctor that I would like to see more of. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? It's not that I want it to be dark. I just like the fact that she has got it in her to be commanding of the screen, like in those little scenes where she was doing that.
But she's
and I
playing,
just thought I'd love to see
Joe
that
Martin.
more.
She's not playing Jodie.
Exactly.
I guess
Maybe that's why I like Joe
that's-
Martin's doctor so much. Yeah, because I just prefer that sort of doctor that's a bit more. Trying to keep it ballsy. I can say ballsy, can't I?
Steady. I'm not putting that explicit badge on.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right, Harry. Jodie.
Yes. So I'll try not to repeat any of the excellent points that have been made. But I think your point, Gary, about the CBBC presenter thing is I couldn't agree more. I feel like it's not my cup of tea personally. I think Jodie's portrayal. And I don't like her any more or any less in this particular series. I feel like she's just kind of been fairly one note throughout the whole thing, for me personally. And I think without those, moments of not necessarily dark doctor, but more sort of authoritative doctor, like commanding the space, being like this the higher status character, which I sort of see the doctor to be. Without doing that, I can't really engage in the portrayal, unfortunately. And I feel like, I don't know whether that's more down to Chris's writing. I think it probably is. Because there are flashes of brilliance. When she was doing the Roof Doctor in episode 3, I think it was, that was really good. Jodie was really good doing that. And I mean, I've just thought just now actually that wouldn't it be interesting if maybe she came back and did Big Finish in years to come, and then they maybe developed on that a bit more. They did a Sylvester McCoy type thing where like they radically rethought the character. And made it more darker, for want of a better word. I think that could be quite something. But as it stands right now, I'm not sad to see her go, if I'm honest. But I know that she's given it her all. Like, you can tell she clearly loves the part, and you can tell that she's, I don't want to sound patronizing, but you can tell that she's trying really hard, and that she's doing, a great job at, being an ambassador for the show and all the rest of it. So there is that.
Yeah, she gets a pat on the back and a gold star on her way out, Harry, for being a good actress. You did well there, Jodie. Nice job. Yeah. Okay, so I don't think we've got time to dive into all of the various characters that appeared throughout the series and stuff. So if we've got time, we are going to circle back to Yaz and Dan. But I want to talk about the other end of the scale in terms of characters now. Let's go to the baddies, because these guys were very interesting. Namely, the two dudes that were probably gave the Doctor the most amount of trouble and threat over the last couple of years that we've seen in Who. So Swarm and Azure, again, open to the floor. What did we think to these guys? Let's talk about them collectively. Jordan.
I loved them. I thought they were brilliant. I think from the first episode, they're not really in it too much, I suppose. The one bit I don't get is the bit where Azure is disguised as a human and why she smashes that thing that's floating and things like that. But I mean, I loved them. I mean, Swarm, Campers Christmas, and
Great shoulder pads.
That whole costume, that whole the 80s shoulder pads and the way the costume sort of like went in on his middle and came out. I loved it. And I mean, the bit in the second episode where Azure says, "Oh, I am Azure and I am your death," and she sort of touches that floating thing and it disintegrates, kind of reminded me of like a Sutek moment where he's like, "I am Sutek, Lord of Death," and she had that sort of a moment. I think they were kind of done dirty towards the end. But I think it's kind of, if this was supposed to be an 8-episode series like we thought it was, I think sort of episode 6, they'd have come back into it, and 7 and 8, they'd have been the main baddies again. But no, I loved them. I thought they were brilliant. I mean, some of the dialogue they had was amazing. It was, and that cliffhanger at the end of the Sontaran one, where he's got like Yaz and he like snaps his fingers. Oh, brilliant.
Mm. Before we move on any further, I think I just need to confirm something, because Jordan already had 10 out of 10 respect points for you. But are you wearing a Ghostwatch t-shirt?
I have, yeah, I've got a Ghostwatch t-shirt.
Oh, wow.
You're now at 11, dude.
I love that film.
You're now at 11 for me. 11 out of 10.
I convinced my girlfriend that it was a genuine broadcast up until about the last 5-10 minutes of it. She's like, hang on a minute.
What a show. God. Anyway, well done, Jordan. Good purchase of a t-shirt. Who wants to go next? Azure and Swarm, jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Azure and Swarm, they were probably the best baddies we've had in a long, long time.
Mm.
They took command of every scene they were in. It's captivating to see such a level of threat for Doctor Who, which I kind of think has been missing largely. I mean, it came back with the Master last year, in a manner of speaking. I mean, it kind of fizzled out towards the end again. However, this series, it had just been continuing episode on episode. The threat level was just 100% until we get to episode 6. About halfway through episode 6, it just went from 100 to 0.
Oh.
And they were just so easily defeated. I was just thinking, all of this build up, what's going on? Chibbers, what have you done? But for episode 1 through to halfway through episode 6, absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't fault them.
Yeah, they were badass.
So I mostly agree with that, but I do think there's something that a lot of people have missed about Flux, which is that Swarm and Azure are brilliant, absolutely fantastic villains, but actually they, as well as the Sontarans, the Weeping Angels, and the less so the Grand Serpent, but still he is valid, is that they're all trying to profit from the Flux. They've all got their own agenda. And I think what makes Swarm and Azure so brilliant is that they are up there with the Sontarans and the Weeping Angels, because they are a long-standing villain of the Doctor's. It's just we've not met them before, and the Doctor can't remember them, and that's a really great concept. And I think, and maybe they were defeated a little bit too easily. I mean, they're defeated by their master, who is deemed that they didn't succeed in their plan to kind of turn the Flux to their own advantage. So yeah, I really liked them, and I thought it was such an interesting concept for a Doctor Who villain, and for a Doctor Who story to kind of have this massive universe-ending event, and then you see how other sort of characters from that universe would react to it, would try and benefit from it. It feels very apt for our sort of COVID times. So yes, I thought it was really good. But obviously, I think that gets lost a bit in the kind of last couple of episodes, where it does start to get a bit noisy and a bit kind of complex. But I do think that's kind of what Chris Chibnall was attempting to do anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I think it was more so just a very quick, it was almost like a reverse of what they were trying to do to the Doctor and the other people, the other victims throughout, where the quick snap of the fingers and they were, disintegrated. It was almost, that was done to them very quickly at the end. So it was kind of a nice karma, I guess, from that perspective. I think, but just people were really wanting them to almost survive this series so that they could come back, and maybe they will. I'm not sure. Maybe this is right.
Well, I mean, they're basically time. I'm not entirely sure how but they exist in time. They're agents of time, so presumably time can just rewind them and bring them back at any time.
I guess so.
Like.
I mean,
I guess.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I mean, I can't see.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression that they were gone. I just think I didn't think they died. I just thought they were just almost sent off to detention or the naughty step sort of thing. You failed.
Yeah, true. I think it's ripe for big finish as well, those two. I guarantee those two will be in a big Finish story within the next 5 years, pretty much.
Definitely. When they get the rights for Joe Martin's Doctor, they're going to be straight in there, aren't they?
Oh
There
yeah,
you go.
definitely.
Yeah.
And you know what?
That is what's going to
Neil
keep this
Briggs
Finish
in
going
there.
until 2030, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
it's just Joe Martin. Joe Martin box sets until 2020, 2030.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Has your opinion changed, Adam?
What?
As you're
On
in
the
Swarm?
Turin? No, I thought they were great. I thought performance from the actors as well was brilliant. Like you said, they had proper threat level, and I was disappointed in the way that they were so quickly diminished. But I hadn't thought about the karma thing, and I actually quite like that. Actually, that hadn't occurred to me until you just said it. The fact that they were sort of taken out in the same way that they delivered it, and I actually quite like that idea. But no, I thought they were great, and I think that's the thing that's sort of been missing a bit from the Chibnall era is great, scary, monsters and threat, and they definitely had both. So, and I like the Grand Serpent, Mark, and it's weird because when you mentioned him, I went, oh yeah, Grand Serpent. I wrote down because I'd forgotten all about him. I don't think he was sort of utilised enough because I think he had great potential as well, and I kind of hope we see a bit more of him in the specials. I don't know if we will because I still don't quite know what he was trying to do, but I thought he was good as well.
He was great.
He was good. I mean, they obviously cast Craig Parkinson. I think Chris Chibnall has said off the back of Line of Duty where he played a very similar sort of manipulative character. And I think while a lot of people were getting get their sort of knickers in a twist about unit dating, I was like, no, but that's basically making a joke of the fact that unit dating is so messed up because the Grand Serpent has just gone back and messed around with it, so it's even more of a mess. Just don't stress about it. He's just messing about with time. And yeah, I kind of hope to see more of him because I like Craig Parkinson as an actor. And I think he was a really good kind of concept, just this kind of intergalactic crime lord that's kind of in it for himself. Yeah, he's good.
He was good, yeah, very sinister. And you're right about the unit dating because I mean that horse bolted ages ago. It's like the unit dating timeline has been messed up.
Terrible.
for a long time. So yeah, we shouldn't get too hung up on that.
Yeah, it was a great character though. Very, very well written and performed. It's I was so sure he was going to end up being the Master as well. Like they were going to throw this curveball. Like I know we've seen the Master in the last series, and you're probably not expecting to see him or her again for a while. But surprise, here's like because the whole snake thing and the whole, anyway. Maria, did you like the Grand Serpent? What do you reckon?
I did. I mean, he seemed like he was going to obviously just be a secondary character initially, obviously, because he was part of Vinder's story. But I liked that he came back. I didn't quite understand why he wanted to mess around with Unit, but I enjoyed his sinister air. So I think it would have been nice to see him maybe have a bigger role in the story because it felt like he became one of the secondary characters. But yeah, no, I did like him. I thought the performance was really good, and I've seen Line of Duty, so you kind of know what to expect. So yeah, he was really good. I really enjoyed him.
Oh, cool. Harry, what do you reckon?
I didn't really like the Grand Serpent all that much. I'd call him
You're lying.
the lame serpent, if I'm honest.
He's out tonight. I love it.
But I do. Yeah.
Hold on, are you serious?
Yeah.
You're serious.
Yeah,
oh, right, okay. I thought you were just messing with us. Like, okay.
No, honestly, I didn't. I wasn't a fan of that character. And I don't understand. Like a couple of us have said, what the motive was. What the I just don't get it, and I don't understand as well why Swarm and Azure didn't really have more prominence. I feel like if it's not a bad thing having all of these different antagonists, and like as you were saying, Mark, about having different races across the universe finding ways to like profit from the flux. I mean, that's really interesting. But I feel like Swarm and Azure had so much potential, and like I don't think they were focused on enough, and it was a really poor ending for them. Again, started out promising, but then pancake.
The dreaded pancake. Yeah, Matthew, Grand Serpent.
Yeah, the Grand Serpent. I agree with what pretty much everybody has said. I think that majoritively, I think he's fallen into old lady COVID's problems with the set and the production. I think having maybe a few more episodes, maybe there could have been a lot more to do with the Grand Serpent. I just didn't really understand why he was there, in all honesty. I thought he was brilliant. I think the only other time I've seen the actor is in Misfits. Complete different side of his acting skills, and it shows just how good of an actor he is. Because I thought the way he played the role was, fantastic. And directed really well as well. But I just didn't get what was going on.
You didn't get what was going on.
I should point out, I don't know if anybody's heard of it, Craig Parkinson, who is the actor that plays Grand Serpent, hosts a podcast called the Two Shot Podcast. He did a really great interview with Jodie Whittaker, I think around the time she'd either been cast as Doctor Who or the first series had gone out. So it's worth kind of going back and listening to that. It's a lot of fun.
What's it called?
I think I will.
The Two Shot Podcast. He does like loads of different podcasts. It's basically him and another actor talking about acting and things like that. But yes, very good.
Oh, cool.
Sounds familiar. A friend of mine actually came out with a good concept for Grand Serpent. So I give him credit for this because I thought it was good. Paul Burns, he thought he was going to turn out to be an alternative universe master, and he was going to go up against Joe Martin's Doctor, which I thought was a great idea. When he said that to me, that was before episode 6 went out. I said, "Oh, you might have got something there, Paul. I think that's a cool idea," but it wasn't to be.
Yeah,
but that would have been quite cool, I think.
At
least I think that's what he said. I don't know. Anyway, that's why I thought he was on there.
This is another thing about like missed potential. Like they dropped the multiverse bomb like towards the end of that series, and then they didn't do anything with it. And like, you know, it obviously opens up a lot of doors for the future. But I don't know. They were talking about a lot of big things like the Doctor's memory, and then they didn't fulfill any promises. I mean, you know, maybe that's just my interpretation. Maybe no promises were made. Maybe it was just kind of like, these are things which could happen at some point. But I don't know. I found myself getting a bit disappointed by things that I thought were coming, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You set your own expectations, Harry.
I don't know. I
probably shouldn't do that. I was thinking too much.
I think you've got a point over the multiverse, because the minute that, because I loved episode 5 with just these massive sort of sci-fi concepts, but I do remember the episode ending and being like, I'm not entirely sure they're going to be able to pull all this together at the end, and especially like if this was midway through Chris Chibnall's era, I'd be like, oh man, like where are we going with this? This is going to be like really exciting. But there's like 3 specials left, and then Russell takes over. So yeah, I'll be interested to see. Obviously now the multiverse is out there and is a concept in the series. It does open up so much more potential, and I think potential is ripe for kind of exploring in Doctor Who. And again, it's kind of amazing it's never dealt with that before. I mean, I know Big Finish has done bits and pieces with it, but yeah, be interested. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed that it was kind of just like shuffled aside in episode 6.
I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I don't feel like Doctor Who's ready yet for the whole multiverse thing. Not in this series anyway. Not with the storylines and threads that were handled there. And I know I always say it, so I'm very sorry, guys. I always, you know, I honestly feel like Chibbers is just not the guy to handle that.
Why do you think he threw, and I'm opening this up to everyone, why do you think he threw so much stuff in there? I mean, I know the episode count was dropped, and I don't know at what point that changed from like 12 to 8 to 6 episodes, so it could be that. But you know, when I said earlier that he made a rod for his own back, why do you think he threw in so much and so many characters instead of, like, you've already got 2 great characters with Swarm and Azure, you got the Grand Serpent as well, so you got some really good stuff. Why did he keep adding, like literally throwing everything in the kitchen sink, do you think? Because he kind of made life difficult for himself, didn't he? Like, why do you think it's that he felt like, oh, this is my last series and I've got all these ideas and I want to get them all out there? Or
I would say,
yeah,
definitely.
No, I just feel like up to the end of episode 4, it felt like the series was progressing kind of at a pace, but enough for you to kind of understand what's going on. And then when you get to episode 5 and episode 6, there's like all this stuff that's just thrown in. And I think, Adam, you might have a point. I mean, it could just be that he's thinking, I haven't got very much longer on the program, and I've just got to throw all these ideas in. I mean, maybe he is preparing it for somebody else to take it on, but he's just putting the ideas out there. But there was too much in episode 5 and 6, I think, to be honest. That what was in the ideas in those episodes could have probably covered 5 or 6 episodes on their own. Really.
Yeah, and it's strange, isn't it? Because Series 11 was so lacking in monsters. I think it's one of the things that was disappointing with Series 11. It was, we didn't really have any new monsters or villains created. And then we get to Series 13 and he's throwing in loads. It's almost as if he's suddenly had inspiration and his brain's exploding with all these ideas. I just wish he'd spread it out a bit more over Series 11 and 12.
I wonder if it is that they had a 10-episode series in mind, which they must have done.
It feels like it, yeah.
And then they've just, rather than they've stripped it down to 6 episodes, but there's probably just stuff in those episodes that he's gone, I really like that. I'm going to keep that in there and stuff like that. And it gets harder and harder to get rid of ideas that he had that he really wanted to kind of keep in. And maybe that's why we have this kind of slightly overstuffed 6-parter, where if it had been
no, it's not 10. No, I didn't actually mean it like that. I was just using the stuff analogy, but yeah.
Kind of like being a Doctor Who collector.
Yeah.
No, I can't get rid of that. Why not? Yeah. You haven't touched it in over a year. Well, it's special to me and I can't get rid of it.
So many unread books just trying to crawl out the shelf.
That's dangerous. Jordan, what do you feel about this, Jordan?
I mean, my biggest question was, it's in Survivors of the Flux when you see Tek Taeun. I was kind of like, I wonder how she felt when all of a sudden Daleks and Cybermen just sort of flew into the void, which is where the division is. I wonder what she was thinking when that happened. I mean, I suppose sort of the multiverse has kind of been there since a sort of Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel. I suppose, I mean, that is what a parallel universe is a multiverse. But I think Chibnall he'd thrown too much stuff into it. But I think had it been a longer series, he might have just pulled it off. Mm. But I mean, that was my biggest question. What is she thinking when all these Daleks and Cybermen fly past her window? And but yeah, I think the multiverse has been there all along. But I don't think it was necessarily the right series to introduce that concept.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
I think that was the void that she was in. I'm assuming
it was.
The void.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I had that exact same thought.
just like wait,
casually sipping on a cup of tea, Daleks flying by. What the hell is that?
All of a sudden, Billy Piper comes back over with a, hopping dimensions and stuff.
It's a big void. It must be huge.
Relative.
Probably didn't even see anything. It's just behind her,
There could potentially come a little bit of. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the idea of the multiverse stuff. I think, as you said, Mark, it opens up loads and loads of opportunities for extra storytelling and stuff. But there's also a little part of me that's it's really dangerous, isn't it? Opening up multiple / infinite universes, because we joked heavily on our last episode, I think, Adam, where we were saying, or at the end of the review for episode 5, where the multiverse stuff could be somebody just finding a big reset button, essentially, in terms of writing. And it's like, oh no, don't worry, that stuff didn't happen in your universe, so just forget about that. Everything here is safe. This is in our universe, we're all good. That was just some other stuff that was going on in that universe, which is almost depleted, so don't worry, now we're back to normal service has resumed. So there is a slight danger. The writing can, I don't know, it can cause a bit of a
tie itself in knots, basically.
A little bit, yeah. And then the only way to write yourself out of that is to pseudo reset it by saying, "Oh, that was another universe," or whatever.
Doctor Who's been doing that for a while, though. I mean, the Time War was always quite a handy. Oh, it was the Time War. That's or the Crack in the Crack in Series 5. Oh, it was the Crack. That's why nobody can remember this thing happening. It's forever sort of coming up with these sort of cover-all solutions.
True. But yeah, so as long as it doesn't lead to like an endless stream of YouTube videos that with the title of something like "Major Plot Hole Found in Series 19, Episode 2, whatever," and then that's just domino effect. It's like, oh yeah, there's loads of but then like you said, Mark, you could go back throughout pretty much all of Doctor Who's history and find various plot holes and stuff. So anyway, so multiverse stuff, yep, great concept. I just don't feel like Chibers is the guy that can handle that. With all the greatest respect to Chibnall, I just don't think he's got the capacity to do that well enough. Anyway, I think he'd have a good stab at it, but.
Well, maybe he should write more with other people, because like the Angel episode was co-written, wasn't it? And I feel like he needs someone to bounce off of, really, to sort of, because it seems like he's got some good ideas, but he perhaps needs someone else to just help him focus them a bit. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, defo. Okay, let's talk a wee bit about the TARDIS team then this series. So we had a new companion with Dan, but Yaz is still hanging around, having a bit of a whinge. So what do we think to Dan and Yaz then as a dynamic between the two of them? Because they did have some cool little moments. There's some bants there, which is cool. But then also what their dynamic is like with the Doctor this time round. What do we feel to those guys? Harry?
Well, Yaz, same as I've always thought about that character. She's all right. I don't really have anything else to say about it.
Remember what I said at the beginning of this? Yeah.
You want to elaborate some more. But honestly, I can't. Like, I just find her a really uncompelling character. I think Mandip Gill is very good, but yeah. Whereas Dan, I really like Dan, and I love John Bishop, and I feel like John Bishop's performance and all the humour and the warmth and the sort of like normality it brings to all of this sort of flux madness, is the perfect tonic for kind of all of the unpalatable elements of this serial. And I love the memes. I love the memes that Dan has generated. Those who know.
Yeah, nice one. Matt?
Yeah, so, Yaz, I agree with Harry. Yaz, she's got, I think you said about this last podcast, how she's Rose and then some. Whereas Rose was kind of, she was getting whingy in series 2, but she just sort of shake her head and give stern looks. Whereas Yaz is full-blown arguing with the Doctor over some petty thing. And it does grate on me a little bit, I've got to admit. But when she is on fire, she is on fire. She can flip the switch very easily and be great for like the good 3/4 of the episode. And it's just the little lines, and I wonder why they include them all the time. However, Dan just walks right in, doesn't he, and steals the show. He's brilliant. I thought from the word go, he was almost Donna kind of esque. Just this instant likability to him. He didn't take himself too seriously, but the character didn't take itself too seriously. I think it all worked for Dan. Meeting his parents was fantastic. Gave the character a whole well-rounded feel. Adding some extra depth as well. But I thoroughly enjoyed Dan, and I got this horrible feeling that he's not going to be in it all the way up until the regeneration, which would be sad, I think, because out of the two, I'd much prefer Dan to stay.
Okay, yeah, interesting. We had some interesting thoughts add on Dan, so we quite liked him, didn't we?
Yeah, I warmed to Dan really quickly. I think the way he was written, the fact that he was in the museum, but then we quickly found out he wasn't supposed to be there. It instantly made you smile. And I think John Bishop was good in his performance for the most part, but he did seem to get sidelined about halfway through the series. He became the Graham, didn't he, of just being pushed in the background. I think because again we got Jericho brought into the mix, who was a great character, but that kind of he took a lot of the fun lines and the funny, the fun sort of scenes, which I think probably would have been given to Dan if he wasn't there. So, but I think Dan was good. I think John Bishop was good. I have to agree with Matt, and because of what we said in the podcast, she's become a bit clingy, a bit naggy, a bit Rose Series 2, and it's a shame because a bit like Jodie, I really want to like Yaz. I really wanted there to be a strong dynamic between the Doctor and Yaz, but even the Doctor seems to be getting annoyed with her, doesn't she? She's like, snapped her head off a couple of times, but the thing is, we kind of agree with the Doctor, I think so. Yeah, I think they've tried to write her as stronger, but I just don't quite think they've developed the character the right way. So she's, instead of being a strong character, she's become just a bit naggy.
Yeah, agree, dude. Mark?
I kind of disagree. I think I think in the scenes where it's very much like you won't tell me everything, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. However, I think, and a lot of people found it quite cringeworthy, but that opening to the Halloween apocalypse where they're sort of dangling upside down and they're trying to get out of the thing, it was just really nice kind of back and forth Doctor companion banter. There was none of the kind of emotional withholding or I'm in love with you kind of stuff that we see from a lot of modern Doctor Who companions. It was just two people having a laugh whilst trying to avoid death. So I thought it got off to a really good start, and I think separating them for quite a while as well was quite interesting. And I think having Yaz kind of introduce Doctor Who to Dan essentially as a show and as a concept and all that kind of thing, I think was quite a nice touch. And there was a lovely kind of touch of kind of Sarah Jane and Harry Sullivan to the two of them, especially in that kind of when she kind of frees him from the cage in the Halloween apocalypse. She's like, "Oh, don't call me." I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like, I'm not a girl or whatever it is. So yeah, I thought they were great together, and it's and yeah, I think it is a bit of a shame that it does kind of come down to she misses the Doctor and she loves the Doctor and she wants to be with the Doctor, when you've seen her kind of prove herself and take control of the situation when her and Dan and Jericho get separated from everybody else across time, and she's the one in charge. She's the one who's kind of leading them on this kind of treasure hunt around the Earth, because the Doctor trusts her enough, so she shouldn't feel this sort of disconnect between her and the Doctor, because I think it's kind of been proved that the Doctor trusts her to take on this task and save the world, essentially. So yeah, I thought it was a bit of a shame that it kind of comes down to fundamentally, oh yeah, sorry, I didn't tell you that I've got this whole secret past. I just didn't really know how to broach the subject. Or be more honest with me, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, dude. Yeah. Okay. Jordan, any thoughts on these two?
Do you know what? I wasn't expecting to like John Bishop as much as I did. I don't like stand-up comedians as a general thing. I don't find them funny. Wow. Which is...
Tough crowd,
Jordan. Yeah.
You don't want Jordan in the front row.
Oh, dear. Do you know what? Well. But it's...
Tomato
I look
in
back
hand.
on, like, my favourite companions. Catherine Tate, I thought was brilliant. Bernard Cribbins, I thought was brilliant. Bradley Walsh, I thought was great. All of them have done, like, comedy stuff. And from the word go, I loved Dan. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was a really, really good character. I mean, me and my sister, we quote him to each other all the time. I'm going to do a really bad northern accent now. But it's that bit where he's like, "Ha-ho, you scared me there." We constantly say that to each other. And I mean, the memes, like Harry said, they are brilliant. But I think
I'm good at this.
Go on, get off with yours.
I'll take a couple of them for tonight.
It's like he's in the room.
It's uncanny. Please continue.
But I think he really, I think his best one was the Sontaran one. When he's going into the Sontaran combat, I mean, that bit where the Sontarans execute those humans, I thought that was really good acting from him. He doesn't overact it, but it's just that little look where he looks away and he's like, oh my God, you know, I'm never going to be able to unsee that, and I can't believe that I've just seen it. And then he goes on the Sontaran spaceship and he's talking about, you know, Tempori Command and whatnot. I love the fact that when his dad gives him the wok, it makes the Captain America shield noise. I loved that. I thought that was brilliant. Yaz...
Does it actually?
I think so. It kind of makes that, like, vibranium-y noise kind of
That's
thing.
true. That's hilarious.
It's got a similar sound to it. Whereas Yaz, I don't know. I like Yaz. I agree with Mark. I really thought she came into her own when they were separated. And there was one bit where I think Dan was moaning on when they were stuck in 1901 or whenever it was, in the Angel episode, and she turns around and she's like, yeah, all right, you know, just stop for a minute, and because he's really moaning on, and I mean, if I was her, that'd be getting on my nerves as well. So I think she comes into her own when she's away from the Doctor. I think when she's with the Doctor, it's a bit... I think there's a bit too much... I think there's a great line where she's like, well, you're not telling me something. And the Doctor turns around and says, are you not enjoying yourself? Is this not... You know, I've shown you the universe, but there's something that I don't want to tell you. Why are you sort of moaning about it? I think she is strong, but I agree. I think she is getting a bit whiny and a bit Rose-like, for want of a better term. But I loved Dan from the word go. I thought he was brilliant.
Yes, and I think I know what you mean about the vibranium sound.
It sort of makes that humming noise when he gives it to him.
When he gives him a good wallop, yeah, it sort of, yeah.
Just while I remember, on the subject of Yaz, what on earth was she trying to do with the tea towels on top of the sticks of dynamite?
Oh, yeah.
What was happening there?
I thought that. I was like, it's not going to stop it from blowing up.
Very strange.
It was to stop the shrapnel from escaping immediately.
I see.
Okay. I love the fact as well, she knew you had to throw the body over the boat. I thought that was a brilliant bit. And sort of Jericho's like, oh my God, you're really calm at this. And it's sort of like, well, it's happened now, so you've just got to deal with it. You know, you can't go around having a dead body in your room. You've got to get rid of it. Not that I have ever had a dead body in my room, I hasten to add. It's, you know.
Yeah, you said that a bit too freely.
Jordan's given us some really questionable eyes.
Oh, you scared me there.
He's got shifty eyes.
Maria, did I ask you about this? Have you gone yet? Can't remember. Maria, have you given us your thoughts on Maria and Dan and Yaz yet? I can't remember.
No, I haven't.
Sorry,
I've been listening with interest to what everyone else has been saying. So, yeah, I was a bit worried about Yaz at the beginning because she seemed like she was quite moany and quite clingy, and I don't think she's really changed that much. I mean, she was bossing obviously Jericho and Dan around when they were stuck in 1904, and you know, she was almost like a kind of doctor kind of role, you know, with her companions kind of following her around. I mean, I like Yaz. I think she's okay. She's fine. I mean, I don't really like the way she's kind of very clingy on the Doctor and all this kind of, you know, tell me how you're feeling and tell me what's going on, and you know, it feels a bit what did you call it, Mark? Cringy. Yeah, so I don't like that, but yeah, she's fine. Dan I really liked. I liked his introductory episode, you know, especially when you know, he's captured by Carbonista, and I think their relationship is quite an interesting one, the way they kind of banter with each other. So yeah, I've enjoyed Dan. I think he got put a bit into the background, you know, throughout as the series went on. You know, he was kind of, Yaz was kind of brought forward a little bit. He was kind of pushed back. I felt really sorry for him at the end when Diane kind of said to him she's not going to go out again with him. So, you know, he kind of lucked out with that one. But I really liked him. I mean, he's quite laid back and he's quite funny. You know, maybe you know, he without trying to be, he's actually quite funny to watch as well. So I think he's a nice fit. I think he works quite well with Yaz together, just the two of them in the TARDIS. If there was three companions, I don't think it would work, but it works with just the two of them, I think.
Good. Yeah, I agree. It does work with just the two of them. Okay, so the time has flown by very quickly, as it always does. So before we sign off, I'm just going to go round. Adam and I have already given our scores, obviously, through the previous episode. So I'm going to ask you guys for a mark out of 10, and then just one quick sentence. What's the one thing that you're either looking forward to or you're hoping to see from the next 3 times, the next little batch of episodes where we're going to see Jodie? So Jordan, out of 10 for Flux, and then what are you most looking forward to before Jodie leaves us?
Flux, I'm going to give it an 8. Because I did enjoy it. It went downhill after a while, but there were still things in that last episode I enjoyed, so I'll give it an 8. What am I looking forward to in the next? The Doctor, Dan and Yaz being companions because they want to be, not because they're sort of thrown together. I think I'm looking forward to.
Cool. Okay, Matt.
So if you had asked me the question on episode 5, I would have said 10 out of 10. Episode 6 happened, I'd bring it down to an 8. I think a solid 8 because I enjoyed 90% a lot. I just don't think it delivered, and for that reason it's got to be an 8. However, what I'm looking forward to and what I wish would happen, and I've got everything crossed that Chivers isn't going to let us down, is that he follows through on the whole Timeless Child arc. He's done it. People either love it or hate it. At least have the decency to see it through. Not just pop it into the TARDIS and let it ferment there until she really asks for it. And then have it.
Yeah. Okay. Another 8 though. Cool. Mark.
I think an 8 for me as well. I really enjoyed it. I've got a couple of reservations about the ending, but I mean, to be honest with you, like, it's not even the most confusing and fumbled ending in Doctor Who of the past 10 years. I think it's still quite a satisfying conclusion. I think there are some loose ends. This isn't my sort of looking forward to thing, but I do hope that some of those loose ends, like what was going on with the TARDIS, the promotional art for Eve of the Daleks seems to suggest that is something that's going to continue, because you've got the kind of cracks in the sort of TARDIS on that kind of poster. So hopefully. But in terms of what I'm looking forward to, I'm going to, in the immediate future, Aisling B in Doctor Who. I'm looking forward to that. She's great. And she was one of my picks for the next Doctor. So I'm a bit disappointed, but also excited to see her with some Daleks on New Year's Day. That'd be good.
Cool. Sorry, Jordan. She's a stand-up comedian, so...
I was going to say, she's a stand-up comedian, so...
and a writer, a very good writer.
Yeah. Although she was in the absolutely dreadful Home Alone remake film thing that was
I didn't... I won't hold that against her. I choose not to watch.
Adam, people know our scores, as we said, dude. I think our average score was about a 6, roughly, for the whole thing overall. But what are you looking forward to most, bud, over the next few
I don't know if it was quite that late. I know some of yours were. Was it episode 3 where you gave it like a?
It was definitely.
There was.
Average,
I think I enjoyed it slightly more than you overall.
Yours is probably a 7.5 compared to my 6.
That's exactly what I've written.
Yeah.
See how well he knows me. 10 years of podcasting. 7.5 is what I would rate it overall. And I'm sort of looking forward to. I would like to see the Master back. I think I would like to see Sasha given something good to do, and I love the fact he's been watching some of the Delgado Master on the new Blu-ray sets, and he looks like he's loving him, and he seems to be taking notes. He loves the calmness of Delgado, so I would love it if he took a bit of that on board, because I think that would be amazing. I know a lot of people would say Jo Martin's Doctor, we need to see more of her, and I sort of agree with that. I would love to see more of her. I think she's great, but I also feel like she's kind of being brought out now as like, I don't know, it's getting a bit gimmicky, like, oh look, it's the fugitive Doctor again. So I don't know if that's going to work, but yeah, and I'm just looking forward to hopefully some new monsters if Chibnall hasn't scraped the barrel dry, if he hasn't outdone himself by putting them all in this. Hopefully he can come up with some good new monsters to see us through those specials. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Harry?
Overall, I would give Flux a 6 out of 10. I thought that the first half was very solid. The second half left a bit more to be desired. But yeah, there were some good things. There were some not so good things. What I'm looking forward to about the specials, I'm looking forward to a lot of what's actually already been said. But I think overall, even though I'm more looking forward to 60th anniversary and beyond, Russell T Davies, all that, I'm just looking forward to having a good time. Hopefully, a sugar-filled pancake, preferably.
Very good. And Maria?
I think I would give Flux 7 out of 10. I enjoyed bits of it. I didn't think it kind of paid off everything that it should have done, so it'll be a 7 out of 10 for me. What am I looking forward to? Well, I want to see more of Belle and Linda, really. But I'm teasing you.
Cheeky.
Maria.
I don't know. I mean, I try not to kind of look at any spoilers when I'm going forward. So, although I know we've got Daleks in the next episode, which I'm not thrilled about because we've seen them every Christmas or every New Year, I should say, since Chris Chibnall's come in. I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking forward to. I know that there's only 3 more specials to go, so. If I'm honest, I'll be glad when Jodie's gone.
Let's not end it on a downer, Maria.
Maria, come on.
No. I'm sure she's going to give it her all, and she'll be fantastic. But yeah, I just want the 3 specials, whatever they're going to be, and I think just to enjoy them really, and have a good time, and then just wave bye.
Yeah, you just want them done and out the way, so you can move on to the next stop. Yeah, I read you. You're not starting. You're just saying. I read you.
Can I just quickly ask a yes or no question to everyone very quickly in the group? Talking about looking forward to things. So just a simple yes or no. Starting with Jordan, going around. Would you like to see the fob watch opened and Jodie to find out about her past, or should that just be a thing that's left for Big Finish or whoever to pick up if they want to? So Timeless Child tie-ins. Do we want it open? The fob watch. Jordan?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Harry?
Yes, it wouldn't make sense if it wasn't.
Mark?
That's such a big question.
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
No. I'm going to go with no.
I thought you'd say yes. God,
no.
I
like a bit of mystery,
Okay, you want it left in the heart of the
Although I expect she's going to open it, and that'll be tied into her regeneration, and she'll be forced to open it to solve some problem, and then that'll. But anyway,
that's what I feel. Yeah, Maria.
No.
No, and Mark.
I mean, no again, but I think you meant Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, did I say Mark? Sorry, Matt.
Definitely yes, 100%.
100% yes, and my good co-host Gary.
I'm going to say
should
no.
Should that fob what be open?
No. To be detailed upon later.
Okay.
On another show, I assume. Yeah.
Interesting
indeed.
How interesting. What a mix of opinions.
Yeah. Is that split down the middle then?
Mostly yeses.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So that is going to wrap our wonderful team and dear listener for our round table, which I think is number 5. pretty sure it's number 5. I'm terrible with numbers and episode numbers, as you all know. I'm pretty sure it's number 5 done. So thank you very much for taking the time out of your evening to come and chat and waffle about Series 13. I think that's now put to bed. I know some of you have still got your own podcasts and your own blogs to do and maybe chat some more on it, but for us here, until the festive special anyway, that's nicely put to bed and done. So a very quick round the table just to say goodbye. So Maria, thank you very much for joining us, my darling. It's been good to have you as always.
Oh, thanks, Gary. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
And you can read Maria's reviews and rundowns and her location reports and everything on the website, which is very cool. Matt, thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you very much for having me, as always. And thank you for taking me on this year. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry
and everyone
Christmas,
at
dude.
home.
Yes, Merry Christmas. You can read Matt's reviews and articles on the website too. Jordan, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been fun, and I'm glad you like the Ghostwatch T-shirt.
Amazing. Yep. Yep. So Jordan writes for us as well, and you also write for a couple of other places as well, don't you?
Yeah, so I do my own blog called TARDIS Traveller Reviews, and I also do articles for the Doctor Who Companion.
Very nice, very nice. Mark, it's been a pleasure as always, dude.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to all of you at home and all of that. Yeah, thank you.
On the Time Lash.
Indeed. So I'll do a little plug. On the Time Lash, we're not doing a Christmas episode, but we're doing a kind of pagan seasonal special. We're doing the Witchfinders and the Demons. It goes out on Sunday. And we've got Joy Wilkinson on as a guest. So she's talking with us about the Witchfinders, which she wrote, and also the Demons, which she's a big fan of. So yeah, listen to that. It's a really good chat, which I was editing earlier today. So yes.
Lovely. Sounds good.
Amazing. Sounds good, yeah.
Harry, thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you all. Thank you for letting me be involved in the writing team. It's been great to be writing these articles and being part of these podcasts. And yeah, it's just fun to chat Doctor Who. And a happy new year.
Cheers, dude. And as always, my co-host Adam, you can find him over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag. Yes. Go and have a look at my vids. Have you said goodbye to... Oh, yeah, we did say goodbye to Maria, didn't we? Thought we'd missed her out. Oh, it's just because she's disappeared from the... I can just see the top of her head. You still there, Maria?
Yeah,
there
she is. Yeah.
I'm still here, Adam.
Just checking.
So a big thank you to you guys for taking the time out of even to do this, and also to take the time out to write all of the articles and your reviews and your opinions on various Doctor Who subjects throughout this year on our website. It's very much appreciated. You guys are very awesome with that stuff. So a big thank you for that. And next year, we're not going to slow down at all. So we're going to have more of these. These roundtables are definitely going to be a more regular thing. And just keep your eyes on the website, because these guys are very, they know their Doctor Who stuff inside out, and they're very talented. So make sure you keep reading that stuff. So Adam, it's been awesome as always, dude.
Absolutely, mate. Yes.
Indeedy. So have a great Christmas, everybody. Have a great new year. Stay safe and stay healthy. And we will catch up with you in the new year for our review of Eve of the Daleks. Eve? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, Eve. Yeah.
That's what it's called.
So until then, please don't let me down. Until then, remember, you guys.
Allons-y.
Allons-y.